I have to constantly remind myself not to swear. Click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute, support this channel by joining and becoming a member. There's other things you can do as a member. I'm not exactly sure of the details. And click the links for Telegram, Odyssey, or support the various other links. So here's the thing with Hayden Christensen and this new Star Wars show. I got to get through the first 30 seconds without swearing. I know it's not canon what I'm about to say, but if you're going to have a new show with Hayden Christensen playing a young Darth Vader and these other characters, which is, a great area to tell. The problem is Darth Vader is in a mask, and he's using a voice from a guy who's too old for the role. So there's kind of awkward issues with that because actors want to show their faces. They want to use their own voice. Otherwise, you're not using the actor. You're just using a stand-in to carry the uniform. It's, So what I would do is, not canon, I would have Hayden Christensen with the mask off most of the time, using his own voice, showing his own face, emoting, because he wants to be an actor telling the story of Vader, and you need to show your face to do that. Yes, of course, Darth Vader is the guy in the mask. That was 77 Star Wars. We're so far away from that, it doesn't matter. It's Disney, and none of this matters anymore. Like, literally, put Hayden Christensen in the role without the mask for most. Like, the mask is only for battle, something like that. He's able to do dialogue and show his emotion and his vocal range. Kind of as a thank you to Hayden Christensen for kind of putting up with a lot of stuff for the past 20 odd years. It's not Darth Vader. It doesn't matter. Disney is. None of this matters. Like, none of this is Star Wars. None of this is. This is all Disney. It's like, just do it as a thank you to Hayden Christensen for putting up with a lot of stuff. Give him a chance to act, to show how he's grown as an actor, to carry the role of Darth Vader. When he goes into battle and he lights up the sword, laser sword, that's when he slips the mask on, and that'll be that. And he'll use his own voice. Listen, you got one voice actor from 1977 to 1983 doing the voice. That obviously, like, if you want to carry the role and pass the actor's lifetime, you're not going to be able to use the voice forever. And if you don't use the actor's voice and face, then it's not him playing the role. It's just a guy carrying a suit doing the body movements. None of it makes sense. So, it is what it is. It's not Star Wars. It's canon. It's none of this. Just, like, you got to think about it. It's all over. All that stuff is over. Now, the next thing I want to say is Hollywood in general is over. If I was a little bit more in tune with the machinations of Hollywood in 2016, I would have been able to look at it and go, oh, okay, Trump, Hollywood is super woke already. They've got TDS, they're just losing their mind over Trump. And you see how the media is starting to respond. You should be able to look in the future at 2016 and go, oh, wait, Hollywood is gonna respond to Trump radically. And a lot of people saw that. A lot, Ann Coulter, to be fair, was like, she's way ahead of the curve of a lot of people. That is a smart chick. But most people thought, oh, well, 2020, when they get somebody else in office, by hook or by crook, Trump derangement syndrome is going to go away. Because, he was just a guy. He's a moderate. Most people, like, in 1980s, 1990s, for most of his life, he would be a moderate, vaguely leftist guy. He's not some hardcore right-wing nationalist or hardcore anything. Even now, he's still just a moderate. He's not a nationalist. Look at these actual policies. Look what he's done. He's not the boogeyman. So we all thought in 2020, it's like, okay, we get somebody else. It's gonna be over. He's just gonna move on to the next politician, the next thing, the next bread and circus' shiny object distraction to grow the tall grass to hide the snakes in. But it never ended. Like, it's 2022 now, and Trump derangement syndrome is like, it's still right there. The left wing is using him as their boogeyman for everything. He's got a little social media presence. He's definitely got political power on the right, which kind of sucks because oh man, if the right wing is looking to Trump to be their guy, oh god, you're just headed for disappointment. But it's like people elect a guy that can win, not necessarily the guy that is really their guy. It's like, settling for Trump. It's like, any of the politicians people put forward, even the left or the right, you look at them both and you're like, oh, God, they suck so fucking bad. Which one is going to F us in the A with more lube? Sorry to be graphic. Which one's going to be less of a pain in the neck? Oh, I don't know. They both suck so bad. It's like, oh, is there a point to voting? Not really. Form local militias is all I'm saying. Peaceful, legal, constitutionally protected activity. Where's it going with this? Star Wars. Got off track? I don't know. It's all related. Not even some kind of like Alex Jones tinfoil hat way, but politics being downstream from culture. So the people who are pulling the strings on pop culture, and they're useful idiots, which this girl is. She's just a Dunning-Kruger effect, left of the bell curve, playing chess with a pigeon. You can't. There's no, the concept of winning or losing doesn't make any sense. It's just multi-dimensional, concepts and creations to somebody who's living, from dot land to line land to flat land to 3D land to shadows of higher dimensions. This is just so far beyond talking to somebody. You're trying to teach calculus to a crocodile. It's just, even the concept is an exercise of frustration. It's like, it says more about you that you're trying to win someone with rational argument and logic, who cannot be won over by rational argument and logic. Because you go, okay, let's set out some clear terms and start a discussion. And you realize, oh, your terms are based on emotion, not on issue, rule, analysis, conclusion, or the scientific method. It's not based on anything that's based in reason and logic. It's just based on emotion. Oh, well, we can do the same. Our argument can be based on emotion too. If you're redefining these concepts as you wish, well, we can redefine them also. It's like, oh, well, no, congratulations, we built the Tower of Babel where the bridges cannot meet in the middle. We're speaking a different language, and we refuse to at least agree on some terms. That's not language. That's Frankfurt School, Saul Alinsky, cultural Bolshevism, Marxism, Leninism, Stalinism, whatever you want to call it. It's like Scientology level of language and manipulation, to use terms to compel behavior and manipulate people. If you can't even agree on the definitions of words, it's like, well, by definition, you're now speaking a different language. All this stuff relates. Politics being downstream from culture. Hollywood's over. Hollywood is over in 2016. Comicsgate is a kind of little shiny hill, bright light on the hill, where people are finally going, oh, we're just going to make our own. We're going to roll our own entertainment. You're not going to make a $200 million Hollywood movie. There's no replacing Hollywood at that level. That amount of money is insane. And it's the infrastructure of Hollywood, just the distribution. It's almost all of it is woke. And even if it's not all woke, there's such a large percentage of these companies that are on board with woke and financial institutions to move money around. It's a massive interconnected. The nexus, the center point is going to be, it might be the artistic film itself, but then the spider webs out from that are all these financial institutions and distribution networks and investment companies, from BlackRock to Vanguard to all these other financial institutions that are all super, super woke. I did a video on that guy, Larry Finkel or something from BlackRock, I think, who's an investor. He's investing money in a lot of these woke companies, which is why you're getting a lot of woke entertainment that nobody wants. It's kind of being artificially propped up. So you're not going to replace that entire network, because it's all like they own the distribution. Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, HBO. All that distribution is all woke. So even if you had one who says, "Oh, we're not going to be woke. We're going to be, something else," well, you'd never get any distribution. You'd never get any financial investment from, BlackRock and these other mega bank corporations. It's not the military industrial complex of the 90s. It's the banking, social media industrial complex. And yes, it's all globalist. Be careful here, Bianca. Be very, very careful. So no, there's no, like, you might have a micro budget movie of under $1 million that you get privately funded. That for sure, that's possible. Stuff like Special Dead back, 15 years ago was a great movie for $600,000. Or there's a bunch of movies that are like under the $5 million mark. But distributing those things and getting them monetized, it was extraordinarily difficult. Things are actually getting a lot better now, which is why I have so much respect for Comicsgate and why so many people jumped on board with Comicsgate, because it's the concept of mainstream entertainment is such dog feathers that any alternative is going to be better. And you look at Comicsgate, Ethan Van Sciver, John Della Rose, Mr. Myers, Ibe Canales, John Malin, Mandy Summers, and a bunch of other folks. Who's that? This one guy, Gabe L. Trabe or something. He's got a new comic that's coming out. It's like a ninja karate kung fu chop sock'em thing from the 80s and 90s. He was doing an interview today. He interviewed JDA today, or they're talking about JDA's latest comic, which looks good. So I think it's called Truth, Justice, and the American Way on Indiegogo. And it's he's like bringing back this 80s and 90s comics. He's on YouTube. You I'm sure you find his channel if you're in the Comics Game Network. And he goes, yeah, I just want that kind of stuff, those kind of like Jean-Claude Van Damme type of, silly movies. And you think back to it, like, you guys just love the 80s and 90s. If you think to those 80s and 90s movies, you go like, oh yeah, because they were freaking awesome. Yeah, they were just fun. Jean-Claude Van Damme running around. Who's that other tall blonde guy? Dolph Lundgren and those kind of silly movies. Chuck Norris, all those just Arnold Schwarzenegger running to islands and like an M60 in one hand and he's holding the belt and he's just, Commando, just ridiculous, admittedly ridiculous movies. If you made a movie like that today, I suspect it would do very, very well. Like not even something as high budget as The Expendables or something like that, but like something low budget and like Commando, which was a pretty, that was not a low budget movie. It's a moderate budget movie, but like a pretty dumb movie. Even as an adult, I can look back in the movie and go, the reason it worked was because you had Arnold for sure, but you also had a lot of strong character actors. Like you had that one black guy who played the heavy and he actually got killed, but Arnold impaled him on a stick. And he did an interview later. He was an interesting guy because he had a lot of issues with different tribes of people sort of thing. But he was working with Arnold on these movies. Arnold's an interesting guy too. He got woke in his older years, but dude's almost 80. It's like an 80-year-old's viewpoints are, I don't know, he had political aspirations. He kind of lost his mind, to be fair. But back in the 80s, he was an interesting guy who was making interesting movies, even with stuff like Predator, which was probably a big budget movie at the time. There's no reason you couldn't make those movies today. And you go, oh, yeah, those things would sell like hotcakes. Why aren't they making those things? Because, be careful here. The people who are pulling the strings on that, like that dog whistle, are bad people who hate you based on your country of origin. As this, she's a useful idiot. This woman, legitimate Dunning-Kruger, left of the bell curve, sub 100 on that bell curve. She legitimately can't understand the argument. So there's no point in arguing with her. She's just a useful idiot for Disney. The people at Disney are not to the left of the bell curve. They're very much to the right. They know what they're doing. There's negligence, there's recklessness, and there's intent. If you want to go on that sliding scale of like tortious or criminal liability or intent, or actions, like ascribing, human behavior to actions. Negligence, recklessness, intent. A lot of people on social media are negligent and reckless. They're not thinking even when harm can result. They're not the reasonable person under similar circumstances. That's the negligence test. The reasonable man under similar circumstances. And back in the day for contracts, they called it the Chinese wall. Now they call it a firewall. It's like, oh, we're so politically correct. It's like, but there is a wall in China. It's the Great Wall of China. It's huge. It's an amazing feat. It's an amazing feat. They built this giant wall, gave them something to defend. Oh yeah, we're gonna call it a firewall now, like in a car. Kind of takes the spice out of language when you just give in to globalism. You just bend right over for it. Where is I going with this? I don't know. Useful idiots, Dunning-Kruger, Disney. I don't know. Sports Channel and Coffee, Subscribe Star, Cash App with small donation if you want to join the Subscribe Star. Thank you for that. Thank you to those recent members. Very, very cool. Or join the Telegram. It's a great Telegram is. Join the Telegram, and I'll tell you some other channels that you're going to want to join to kind of go down that path. Where are we going with this? So these are the Disney useful idiots. Disney, giant billion-dollar company, is willing to lose money to spread this message of fair-haired, fair-skinned, light-eyed people bad. That kind of message, like at the expense of lost money. More and more people are. I've been saying this, like tearing my hair out if I had any, for years. More and more people are finally kind of cluing into like, this isn't logical behavior. They're losing money to the point of just saying blonde people are bad. Yes, okay, that's your starting point. That's your starting point. Keep going down that path. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.